Yeah, that's some very interesting question, eh? Um, Tell me, what are these injustices? Tell me. I like what your approach is. Tell me what's going on in this world.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Talking. I mean, I guess you warned me up front that you were going to come with maybe some loaded questions. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's quite a deep sort of long-winded answer that I could have for you. Maybe just firstly in a nutshell, and happy to kind of delve deeper, as in what you think your listeners would most like to hear about. But for me, ever since I grew up, all I remember is having quite a strong sense of wanting social justice. And so whenever I saw some sort of unfairness in the world, whether it was to an individual or a group of people,
Mm.
I always struggled with that on a not only like a logical kind of brain level, but also just on an emotional level. So my closest friend since I was six, Sri Lankan guy, great guy that I've been with friends for so long. Unfortunately, he no longer lives in Australia, lives in Canada, but Wim
Mm.
is his name. And we grew up together, and I still very much in touch. He was my best man at my wedding. And I kind of witnessed a couple of things that, I guess, being a white Australian, like there's a lot of entitlement that I had, that him and other friends, I've had very multicultural friends. I think just because the schools that I went to public schools, throughout my schooling.
Mm.
So I generally was surrounded by people that, if anything, I might have been a bit of the outsider in terms of, like, I didn't go to particularly white dominated schools. It wasn't sort of in the and mainly just because of financial reasons for my mum, and grew up with my single mum.
Mhm.
So I think that just sort of led me to kind of be exposed to different things, and even just my mum being exposed to certain racisms that I saw from back in the 80s and 90s, when I was 4 or 5, and I still remember to this day some of those incidents because of her strong accent. And so that, I think, helped shape what was important to me. So I've done various things, both work wise, but also personally, like the Big Brother program. I've been mentoring a young man
Mhm.
now for over 10 years, and it's just been amazing to see him grow and develop. And he actually went to the same high school and primary school as me, which
Oh,
was
nice.
coincidental.
Yeah.
And I happened to know his grandfather, who ran a local sort of shop down the road. And just being able to, I guess, help in any way that I can. Maybe it sounds a bit cheesy or what have you,
No,
but
not at all.
I guess I've always looked for experiences that will not only reward me at a, like it's a personal level, but at an emotional level. I guess there's something I'm trying to, I don't know, fix in the world or fix in myself, as psychologists would often say.
Mm.
But yeah, that sort of led me on various journeys through my life. And whenever I've seen something that I haven't been happy with or goes against my own values, I've been very quick and maybe sometimes a little bit too vocal to speak up about it, sometimes to my detriment. But
Hey, you're
yeah.
you're being honest with yourself, and that's fantastic, Jan. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, I want to be able to, sleep well at night and be on my
Mm.
deathbed at some point, or speaking to my son about, look, I definitely didn't do everything right. Like, I'm not perfect, but I stood up for what I thought was important. And men I've had to walk away from very lucrative, financial situations because it just didn't feel right to me. The values just weren't aligned.
Mm.
So yeah, that's been something that I've held, very strong to who I am. And I think it's allowed me to start Growth Wave, which, I only started that business a few months ago, but having a lot of momentum, and, if you excuse the pun, it's, riding the wave at the moment. And I
Great
think
joke.
that's, thank you. Dad joke. But I think that's all comes back to, like, I'm feeling so aligned in my values and no cognitive dissonance. Like, so to put it another way, like, my behaviors feel very much in line with my values, which I feel haven't always been the case. Like, I've
Mm.
been lured by, various golden handcuffs or, gilded cages, if you like. But being free of that, even if it means I financially am worse off, like, I feel the long run, my soul, almost, again, that sounds maybe esoteric, but it's a more aligned level that just gives me the energy that I can wake up and feel like I'm making some sort of difference, even if it's a small one. But whatever impact I'm making is in line with those values.
Mm. You mentioned the childhood experiences, Jan.
Mm.
What was it that sort of prompted you to go down that sort of social justice? Was it a specific event, or was it a series of observations that made you realize, wait a second,
Yeah.
that's not cool?
Yeah. It's hard for me to pinpoint because, I think for anyone, like, you only know the experiences that you have. So to
Good
say
point.
what would have
Very
been
good point.
like differently had, maybe my dad been around more, had my mother not had, to work as a single mum and try to provide for me. Like, and don't get me wrong, like we didn't grow up dirt poor or anything like that. Like I never felt that I missed out on something, but I was very cognizant of not not stretching the budget. And even now, like, financially, like my wife and my son and I are doing fine. Like I don't need to worry, but I still have a very kind of probably frugal mindset because one, I don't want to have some sort of pressure that, anyone owns me, or that, like I have sort of stretched beyond my means. Like that's really important to me. And I think my mum, through, no intention of herself, but, she role modeled to me how to live a frugal and still satisfying life. Like I see her, and she's still frugal to this day. But, I see her very happy, and seeing her with my son. And, when we catch up, I can see that she doesn't need all those, cosmetic things or,
Mm.
physical things. It's more about the experiences and seeing the family that she loves. And she's had to make some pretty big sacrifices and decisions for myself and for herself over her life. So I think that role modeling at a very young age sort of set me on that path. But yeah, to be able to pinpoint it, I can't probably answer that one for you, Jeff.
It's interesting, eh? So when you say frugal, it's very much being resourceful. Like I think sometimes the word frugal has some sort of, in a way, has a bit of a negative connotation sometimes, I find. I'm not too sure if
Yeah.
you agree, yeah. And I think a better word, correct me if I'm wrong, would be resourcefulness.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. There's probably some connotations with the word frugal that are a little bit negative. I guess for myself, like I feel that I'm fine with that word. Like, I think
Mm.
if someone was to
You're
say
comfortable
I'm
with it.
cheap, maybe I would take that as a little bit more of an insult. And like, I don't feel that I'm cheap. Like, I try to invest and spend money on the things that I think are of value.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm careful in the sense that, like, I won't just willy-nilly go out there and spend more money on something just for the status, or like, we have a nice-ish car, but it's just like it's a Honda. It's not like I haven't gone for an Audi, you
Come on,
know.
Jan. I'm expecting a Rolls-Royce Phantom chauffeur.
Yeah. Sorry, Jeff, to disappoint. I wasn't quite at the trading level of maybe some of your peers at our previous post, employer. But yeah, like I mean, again, financially doing all right, but we're in a humble home, almost mortgage free, which is very, very fortunate for us to be in that kind of position. And it's thanks to, again, like some great employers that paid me very well, including our mutual
Mm.
ex-employer. So yeah, I definitely grateful for those opportunities. But at the same time, like I'm not going to stretch myself, or my wife and I are not going to stretch ourselves that we suddenly have a mortgage where if interest rates go up, we're suddenly going to struggle. That's just not the way that I like to
You
operate.
rather be prudent.
Yeah, yeah, prudent. I think that's maybe another good word to use. So
Mm.
I don't mind the label, I guess, of frugal myself. Maybe
Yeah.
don't call me cheap, Jeff, but that's that's
Hey,
fine.
what's funny, like just knowing you a bit more and seeing you in person, even if someone were to say that you were cheap, and I'm pretty sure you know have that sort of composure and comfort to go, you know what? Thank you for letting me know. Yes, I am, but that's okay. And you move on, yeah? Oh, you're still on mute. There, yeah.
How about now? Am I back?
You're back. It's okay. Very good.
Sorry, just a little frog in the throat there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, I'm definitely a big believer in feedback. Feedback's a big part of, I guess, what I do in terms of the work that I do, but also in terms of my self-development and how I try to, give my son feedback and those around me, in that sort of intent of continuous improvement. Yeah, like I definitely feel if someone gave me that feedback, I'll take it on the chin if I need to. But yeah.
Yeah, I think we're only human to sort of take any feedback at the onset as a bit of a wait a second, who are you to tell me? But then you sort of got to think back and you know what? Maybe that's pretty constructive. I'll take it on
Yeah.
board, right?
Especially if the intent is good. I think that's the key thing. And, having somewhat of a relationship or knowing that the intent is good, I think any feedback, no matter how badly delivered, can be, received in the right way, hopefully.
Hmm. I'm sensing a lot of self-awareness, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, like, I guess I'll leave that for others to judge. I'm sure
Mm,
there's stakeholders that I've had in the past that maybe wouldn't agree with that, but, I like to think that I am,
yeah.
self-aware. I definitely spend a lot of time on self-reflection and, just little things like journaling, or I've been finding, like, writing a lot, on LinkedIn and maybe a little bit too much at times. I'm getting some feedback from time to time, it's like, "Oh, wow, Jan, you're pretty busy there on LinkedIn." But yeah, I find just the act of writing it and writing it for an audience, even if no one's really reading it, but just putting it down, the thoughts down on paper. I just find it's so helpful for me to process and hopefully then
Mm.
take what I've learned and then kind of adapt and run with it.